Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with another episode of Weighing In, brought to you by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike gear. The new freaks are out. Go get them. Resilite, the mat company. You start budgeting. Make sure you got the best mats in the game, and Pure and Clean Sports. This is the time of the year where you got to stay on the mats. Can't let any junk or anything, any skin problems at all prevent you from chasing your state and national titles. Joined today by maybe the smartest guy in the wrestling game. You'll never hear him say anything like that. The 2023 Win Journalist of the Year Award winner, my guy, Earl Smith. Earl, good morning.
Hey, good morning, David. How are you doing?
I am good. I wanted to make sure I got the year right, and I looked up this article, and you said you have a quote in here that I wish I had stolen. It said, if you put your opinion out there and you're able to surround it with facts and sound logic and reasoning, people can say they don't agree with you, but they cannot say what you're saying is stupid. I would just like to say amen to
that. I try to live by that. I don't maybe sometimes that doesn't apply, but generally I try to do that.
Yeah, a couple years ago, you and I got a picture with Gary Abbott in Iowa. It's one of the pictures that I have saved. It's when I started in this, I felt strongly like an imposter. You know, I had coached and wrestled, and I've never professed to be a journalist. I don't, I try not to say anything out of pocket, but I just wanted to talk about wrestling. And, you had done it for so long. Gary was one of my mentors in the beginning, and I think we all deservedly so give Gary the GOAT status that just because he's not doing it anymore doesn't mean he's still not a GOAT. So anyway, that was a great picture. And I got to sit on media row with you as recently as the national duels. So I know what we want to talk about today, but I never really got your thoughts on the air. What did you think about national duels?
I thought it was great. I just think that more bigger events are better, more events where the whole entire wrestling community is kind of focused on this one thing. And, you can be on Twitter and you see everybody just talking about, they're not even saying what's going on in the match. They're saying bad call. And what call they're talking about because everybody's watching that match. And, just getting more talking points, more big matches individually and teams. Those are good things for our sport. So I loved it. And, I've seen the messaging from the International Duels Invitational saying next year is going to be, bigger and better. So I'm eager to see what they mean by that.
I am too. I thought Serber and company did a really nice job. Year one is a guy that runs events. You kind of know you can't bat 1,000, but if you can get close, generally people are happy and people understand like, hey, not everything's going to be perfect. I know we had Grant Turner with us, which was kind of a rare pleasure. Usually he's walking around kissing babies and shaking hands, and he was really impressed. And there's a picture I have of you, me, and Willie at Arena Pub. That's another one of my favorites. So I guess here's the real question everybody wants to know. What's it like to work with Willie on a weekly basis?
It's funny because everybody, that's one of the first questions I get. And I guess if both of our personalities, we're kind of, I don't want to say polar opposites. We're kind of different from each other. He's definitely more outgoing and I'm laid back. And I think that kind of suits us well. And he's the guy that, like you said, shake hands, kiss babies, talk to everybody, and I'm kind of laid back, taking it all in. But from a day-to-day basis, he brought me in because he trusted me to do the job, and he lets me do the job. He has a billion other things. He kind of, everybody pulls him to be involved with their events, do seating, do this and that. So he's got a lot of things on his plate. He doesn't have, time to get into every little single thing with Intermat. So he trusts me to handle that. And, he'll step in now and again and say, hey, have we done an article about this lately? And, I say, no. And, that's a good idea. Yeah. He knows what hits well with content, so he has suggestions like that. I'm always ready to run with it, but it's a very good team us together. It's funny though, because everybody is intrigued by that.
Well, I think you guys are the odd couple in one sense, right? Like the personality, the physical height, some things like that. I think where you're completely aligned is your love of wrestling. Sure. You guys both love wrestling. Guys are also both, it's very rare, but if you make a mistake, you're willing to say you're wrong, or, hey, we could do this better. Maybe that's a better way to say it. Like, hey, we didn't think of doing that. We'll do that this next time. I mean, I've worked with Willie on Hall of Fame duels and Fab 50 duels. And I will agree with what you said. He's not a micromanager. Like, I think he does what good people do is they find people, put them in positions of leadership, and get the hell out of the way and let them go be who they are. And, add suggestions. Go, hey, I know you're busy, Earl. You should think of this. David, what about this? I think we'd be a little remiss, then we'll get into it. Like, Willie's sister's a freaking OG too, man. Like, she does a lot to keep all of the ships that Willie has at sea running. So shout out to Krista Febo, who did a fantastic job at Fab 50 duels for us. So anyway, all right. So a lot to get into. I'm very interested in getting your quick takes on Iowa, Penn State, because obviously we did a podcast on that Tuesday with Mark and Grant, but I've heard, obviously the score is a score, 9 out of 10 and everything else, but there's the range of, well, Iowa's only one move out of winning 5 of the matches, to the other perspective of, well, they're one stalling call out of Nasir Bailey going into overtime, and then he probably loses that match and they get shut out. So where are you on that scale?
I guess I was pretty surprised. You're going before the duel and kind of breaking down how it could play out. You see whoever puts out point spreads, and it's like, man, if Penn State covers this thing, it's going to be one of the worst losses for Iowa of decades, and that can't be possible. But it did end up playing out that way, and I think at the end of the day, generally that's how that duel would have played out if they wrestled 3 or 4 more times. Maybe Shane Van Ness has a bigger margin of victory this time. I don't know, Marcus Blaze, maybe he gets more accustomed to the college world and maybe he widens the gap. I don't know if I'd always pick Mirasola over Keeter, but generally I think it kind of is what it is. And we may talk rankings later, I think, but
I do want to ask you a rankings question. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I know over the weekend, maybe it was Monday, I was saying to my wife, I'm working on rankings. I'm going to have 6 freaking Penn State guys, number 1. Like, I can't believe that.
Okay. So for people that don't know, I did the track wrestling rankings for the 4 or 5 years that track wrestling was in existence and doing them. And I've never really said this out loud. I would always check everybody else's sources just to make sure, like, I didn't have a guy ranked too high or too low. And didn't mean I changed it. It just meant, okay, I'm aware of it. And certainly if nobody else had a guy ranked, I'm like, I must not know he's out for the year with an injury. That's always one I think you try to catch. But Piles posted they'd never had 6 number 1s at a school at Flow. So question is, have you, I don't know if you tracked that, but has that ever happened with your rankings that you're aware of?
I haven't actually tracked it. I know at least during the Intermat era for me, I could probably go back and look, but I know off the top of my head that hasn't happened. I'm not sure about, through the open mat and stuff like that, where, I was working before. I really don't think that has happened before that I've done, because that's I said to my wife, I'm like, I've never done that before. I've never had 6 guys from one school, but it's warranted. So,
Yeah. And you have 2 guys in Blaze and Duke that you can't rank them 1, but you might think they're the best guy. And I think that's something else too, that people need to understand, that rankings are really a person's interpretation of the data on where they should be valued or where they would be seated, something like that. Not like when Gable Stevenson was a true freshman, I remember Andy Hamilton asked me, where are you going to rank him? And I'm like, well, I have 3 choices. I can rank him 1, 5, or 33. And he goes, well, give me the justification for each. I go, well, he hasn't wrestled in college. I got to put him at 33 because he doesn't score a point for Minnesota, but everybody knows I haven't forgotten him. So I said 1, because I think he's going to win it. And he's a world champion and all the other stuff we know Gable Stevenson was, or age group world champion, excuse me. And then 5, I said, and this is where I think I should rank him because Tanner Hall's number 5 right now. And I was at the match where he took him down 5 times and beat him 10-0. And I understand we don't always use this as criteria, but there was no freestyling. Like he either attacked or went behind. He goes, so which one are you going to do? And I go, I think you've talked me into 5, just saying it out loud. But you couldn't rank him 1. I think PJ Duke's probably, let's put it this way. I don't think anybody else in that group at 57, as good as that weight is, and it's really good, that would beat Yanni Diakomahalis 2 out of 3. I'm not sure that's a criteria, but if it was, I think, he's a 1 of 1 there. So it's interesting. I'll ask you this now. I said this on our podcast, and you were in the majority. I was in the minority, and I don't think the results Friday night changes. Doesn't make me right or wrong. I thought Rocco Welsh should be ranked 1 the whole year, and the reason why was he was second as a true freshman. He took losses, but he avenged almost all of them except Starachi. Starachi is like a unicorn loss. Everybody loses to him. He went undefeated in his redshirt year and then transferred to, at worst, a lateral move from Ohio State to Penn State. What was your logic behind, and I know why the other guys, ABP, BBC, what was your logic, in making him D instead of A1?
Yeah, so that 174-pound bracket he got to the finals in, that was the one where Starachi had the injury default at NCAAs, so you just had that crazy lopsided top half of the bracket with him and Mekhi Lewis and Shane Griffith. Yeah. And then the bottom half was kind of not the same caliber. So I kind of didn't look at that as like he beat Mekhi Lewis and Shane Griffith to get to number 2. And then, you just had 184-pound, the 3rd place finisher coming back with Max McAnally. He was another one where I think Carter Starachi is the only guy that beat him during the regular season, during the Big Ten tournament, and it was an overtime match. He's right there, so I felt like the guy coming back at 84, high finisher, he got it over Rocco Welsh. Yeah,
and then the thing is this: like, what I think most people that are fairly nerdy understand is that the individual rankings strongly influence, they are the influence of the team rankings. Like if I rank you 1, your team's got 20 points. If I rank you 4, it's 12.5. And that's a pretty major difference when you're getting, especially in those sort of 14 to 32 teams, like one guy getting a bump 10 points or a drop 10 points is massive. So anyway, I'll ask you this. You've seen a lot of wrestling, and you're probably better at remembering the history of things. Like when you mentioned the top and bottom half of the bracket, as soon as you said that, I remembered Mekhi was the 8. We thought that was, or no, Mekhi was the 1. Excuse me, Starachi was the 8 or the 9. He might have been.
Yeah, I can't 9. Remember. I think 9.
9, but in the 8-9 line, I thought he should be the 6. My logic was can't put him in the same half as the 1 seed. That's not fair. You have to put him in the bottom half, and can't put him in the same quarter bracket as the 2 seed. So by definition, he has to be the 6. But clearly, supposedly, they're following a formula. Although I think you probably could do title and verse on why that there's of exceptions of that. But anyway, but as soon as you said that, I'm like, you're right. The best guy he beat on the bottom half was Edmund Ruth, who's a good wrestler, but certainly not Shane Griffith, certainly not Mekhi Lewis, all that kind of stuff. So I guess that makes sense. I think I'm a big just what did you do at the end of the year, because I coached for so long. And it's like, well, you got it done or you didn't get it done. Nobody really remembers your regular season except super dorks. So, but yeah, that's a very interesting thought process. I'd like to go through your rankings if we can. Like, it's very rare we get the person that does the rankings on the show.
Sure.
So we'll just go through this, and then eventually I want to pick we're going to pick Nebraska and Iowa. So 25, Vincent Robinson dropped because he lost to Nick Provo. It's really, and then Nico Rivera took a bad loss. So it feels fairly straightforward why these guys are where they are. Just your thoughts on the weight. Like, you and I were talking about at national duels, because Buzakis didn't wrestle the second day, the first match. And so he had Dean Peterson on full feed. And you and I'm like, he's going to kill him. And you're like, I don't know that you're wrong. And I go, no, like, he probably weighs 145 pounds right now. I think that's changed because obviously he's winning matches off normal weigh-ins. Like, I've kind of come around. I think Buzakis might actually be the favorite because he's just so freaking strong. Like, what are your thoughts on this weight?
Yeah, he's so strong and explosive. So, I was wanting to, and I still do want to see him on day 2 of, the Big Ten tournament, NCAA tournament, the quarterfinals, see how he handles the weight at that point. But at the same time, I thought that Friday night was the best version of Luke Lillidahl that I've seen against a high-level opponent in college. At least he's been great in freestyle, but as far as the offense he was able to display out there, that was extremely impressive from him. And it's hard to see anybody beating him if he's able to get to his offense like he did. I think at the time of the national duels when we were together, we kind of thought that this was going to be another wild 125-pound weight class where everybody's beating everybody, and your number 9 guy could win the title, and that might end up being the case. But I do think it's calmed down a little bit, and we kind of do have a little bit of a good little hierarchy with guys here.
I feel like the 3 guys that I would say, if you should pick 3 guys to win it and you get the field, I would take Luke, Buzakis, and V-Rob. Would you have a different 3?
It's weird because Ventresca has V-Rob's number. Beat him in the duel in the ACC tournament and national duels. So if there's some way where they're a 3 and 6 together, then it could be a Ventresca.
Yeah. I think my thought is I think V-Rob's got, just because he's done it before and he's a different kind of Rubik's Cube, he could give Luke and Buzakis troubles where I don't think they would have as much trouble with Ventresca.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. But I agree with you that Ventresca beats him. It's close, but he beats him every time. Just like V-Rob beats Spratley. And then Spratley beats Ventresca. So that's a weird little Rubik's Cube there. Okay, 33. So this might be my favorite weight.
For sure.
Okay, so Bird speaks for himself. Davino, there's a guy that really announced himself at national duels. I think we all thought he was good. I think I had him ranked a little higher than most people in the preseason, but the thrashing he put on Ayala was really impressive. But now that Ayala's 4 and 5, we don't really know if it's the same. Evan Frost, super consistent kid. Marcus Blaze, unbelievably high ceiling. Crookham beat Vito. Kyler Larkin, 14 and 1. And then you add Jackson to the mix. So here's another thing. Let's start with, let me just start with your thoughts on 33.
Yeah, that's just, I think it's going to be the most fun weight class there is this year. And I'm glad you mentioned Davino, because with Marcus Blaze and Jax Forrest being involved, I feel like he's a guy that we're kind of forgetting about a little bit. We haven't seen him lose yet. And you mentioned the big win over Drake Ayala. So I don't want people to forget about him, overlook him, write him off just because we do have some other new shiny toys. I would add, I'd pay attention to Virginia Tech Stanford this week because I was told that they're trying to sort out 133 pounds now. And they also have Aaron Seidel, who has been highly impressive wrestling unattached at Midlands and the F&M Open. So he's another true freshman to throw into the mix who's, got high AA potential.
Yeah, and Dylan Campbell's had a pretty good year too as a freshman.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So people that don't know, you're home based in Virginia. Virginia Tech could be stupid good next year.
Yes, it's pretty cool from being a lifelong Virginia resident, and I know the early Kevin Dresser days here, and they were kind of rough for a couple of years, and even when they were better, they still weren't team trophy caliber teams like they've morphed into being these past couple years, past decade, and now maybe even higher with the caliber kids are coming in and already on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, people can sort of see this, but they could go Ventresca, they could go Seidel or Campbell, they could go Bassett, they could go Caleb Henson. Caleb Henson would be a pretty massive favorite to be a national champion this year at a weight. 49 feels like the opposite of 33 and 57 this year. And we'll keep going through their upper weights. They got Jimmy Mullen, they got Ryan Burton, they could reclassify Melvin Miller. I mean, they could be an exceptionally fun team to talk about. So where do you rank Jax? I mean, let me rephrase that. You have him at 14. What was sort of your ceiling and basement, or did he slot perfectly there?
I mean, it was really kind of like it's a different situation, but it was kind of like you were saying with Gable. Obviously I wasn't going to go stick him in at 1, but if you're looking at the guys he's beaten thus far, generally you're not going to say that's the 14th guy in the country, but we can't be stupid and pretend to not know who Jax Forrest is and what he's capable of. So I kind of looked for the tier where these guys are starting to take a bunch of losses, and it's not, you're not throwing him in over a bunch of past All-Americans. I tend to give precedence to guys who, you said it earlier, you're training for the end of the year for the big tournament. The guys that are All-Americans, they've gotten it done before. To me, they kind of get the respect that let's slide him behind those guys and let him win matches in college on the mat and earn, top 10, top 5, whatever we're going to do.
Yeah. And for people, I'll be at the Big 12. The Big 12 semis are low key unbelievable with Frost, Larkin, Serrano, and Jax.
That's legit.
It is legit. I mean, it's not the Big 10 at every weight, but that's fun. The Big 10 would be salty as usual with Bird, Davino, Blaze, Van D, and Ayala as somebody's quarterfinals. Ayala and Zan, if these held up, and Braxton Brown are somebody's quarterfinals draw. So that's real fun too. Okay, 41. So I don't know that there's a lot here. I guess I'll just get your opinion on how do you I guess at 33, by the way, next weekend we'll see Davino and Blaze, which I think will tell us a lot. Obviously somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose, but Blaze could move up to number 2, which would then have, assuming nobody else in Penn State lost, that they'd have 7 guys in the top 2, which is crazy. How big of a surprise is Sergio Vega to you this year? I saw him wrestle at Hall of Fame duels. I thought he was really, really good. I didn't think he was number 2 in the country, smash Brock Hardy twice good.
No, not at all. I did see him a little bit in high school and thought highly of him, and thought if they wrestle him this year, top 15-ish type guy, which is good for, most freshmen, true freshmen. Right. But I kind of thought that maybe Mendez Hardy would kind of be a tier of their own. And he certainly, especially with the dual pin, he proved that it wasn't just a one-time thing at national duels. He can beat a guy a caliber of Hardy multiple times. He's definitely the second best guy at this weight right now.
Yeah. Also, what's interesting to me is he had that really close match with Nasir Bailey at NDI. You know, where it's 1-1 or 0-0, because neither one of them picked down on each other, which I think you and I sat next to each other and won chicken wings off GT or Willie on that one. Like, I bet you neither one of these guys picked down. So it does feel like there's a path. How do you see Echemendia and Vega going? I mean, both Sunnyside guys. It feels like it's sort of man versus boy. Like Echemendia is going to probably try to get to the body and literally just pick him up off the mat, which frankly, I know he's really tall, but that's a good strategy for a guy who's so good at rolling around. It feels like if Vega can get him rolling around in the blender, he might cradle him up like he cradles everybody else up.
Yeah, for sure. But I guess I kind of thought from the beginning, you know, Hardy's an old guy too. He's got man strength. You know, I didn't think he would be able to, you know, get crushed up and cradled like that by Vega. So, you know, who knows? Generally, we haven't seen that type of thing happen to Echemendia. So that would still surprise me if he had a, you know, pin or major decision over him. But you know, for now, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I think Anthony Leone and whoever runs Sunnyside social media need to have that day in circles on the calendar, because that's going to be awesome. Those two guys wrestling each other. And I think we also, not you, but a lot of us have forgotten Jesse Mendez is sort of Hodge Trophy worthy with the season he's having, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me coming into the year, it was Mesenbrink kind of clear number one and everybody else number two, but he has done his part to make it a very interesting race. And I think maybe based on strength of the schedule at this point, he probably has more of a case for it than Mesenbrink.
Yeah, for sure. 49 feels like Captain Chaos weight class. Van Ness won. Jax and Joy and Caleb Tyus have moved their way up to 2 and 3. We saw Jax and Joy in person, and I mean, but he had to get one late to beat a Casey Swiderski. I saw Caleb Tyus also beat Casey Swiderski at the Cougar Classic. And a sidebar, Jackson Joy and Tyus both lost to Bo Bassett in the same tournament. So, I mean, such a weird weight class. Styles has 3 losses. Biskins has a loss, but just put it on Valencia. Carter Young wouldn't even be starting if he hadn't transferred, and his only loss is the forfeit out in the semis. Like, is it Van Ness and everybody else? Because I think Jackson Joy could get him. I think I go back to when Ridge Lovett rode Van Ness really hard, and I think he even turned him, caught him in I don't know if he turned him, but put him on his back, caught him in some scrambles. I feel like Jackson Joy can do that, and one of the things is, like, if you're way better on top, you get to be in your position at least once a match.
Yeah, I'm glad you said Joy, because if you were to hold me down and make predictions right now, I think I would probably take Joy over Van Ness. I've been very impressed by him. When I was out in Vegas, you had him and Caleb Larkin before he bumped up, and I kind of thought that was going to be one of the matches that I anticipated the most, or, you know, was going to be the best, most exciting matches of the tournament, and he just blew them out, blew the doors off of him.
Yes.
And, you know, yes, he's capable of, you know, winning from the top position. And I think whenever we see freshmen who have a lot of success, a lot of it can be predicated on being guys that are really good on the mat as freshmen, and he fits the bill. You kind of took the words out of my mouth. As far as weight classes ranking this year, this one has not been my favorite.
Yeah.
And I kind of was not happy to see Larkin move up, because, you know, that was a guy that I looked at and was like, that's a top 3, top 4 guy.
Yeah.
And now you have him out of the mix. And so, you know, there's going to be a lot of new faces on the podium, a lot of guys that, you know, maybe you don't expect, maybe a 13, 14. I mean, look, I think I have 13 is Lachlan McNeil. So that actually wouldn't be a totally new face on the podium, actually.
Chance Lamer at 14, yeah. Swiderski at 12, who's placed before. So, yeah, it's crazy. And Aiden Valencia was 2 seconds away from beating Real Woods, who's a world bronze medalist. So Jax Joy's got a little bit of Sergio Vega in him that if you roll around with him, it could end badly.
For sure.
So this is another weight that's unbelievable. So I was talking to Lee Pritz the other day, and I told him, I said, listen, if your guy goes undefeated and either Cannon or Duke go undefeated, I think your guy's the 2 seed because we kind of went through the criteria. There's no head-to-head. There's no criteria in common opponents. They both would have won their conference. You would know better than me how to calculate strength of schedule, but Larkin will have wrestled a bunch of really good guys between now and the end of the year. I mean, if he wrestles Shapiro this weekend, and again, I'm not saying he's going to beat all these guys, but if he did, he would have Waters, Shapiro, and some combination of Rabadou and Zurban on his resume. But I think the winner of the Big Ten that are undefeated would be number 1 because it's hard to unsee the 15-0 loss of Larkin to Joy, and that does impact the coach's vote. So your thoughts on this weight class, because I think it's unbelievably good.
Yeah, this is one that's a lot of fun. This would be number 2 for me behind 133, and I would agree with your assessment that whoever wins the Big Ten, if it is Cannon Duke, they would be above Larkin. This week we're going to get Cannon and Taylor, and I don't think any, Cannon we've been impressed with, but I don't know that we saw major decision type win over Antrell Taylor, which we saw at the national duels. So I'm eager to see that one again. But yeah, I want to see more of Shapiro because I don't think he's the 7th best wrestler at this weight.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. And like Logan Rosinski was the one that beat Antrell Taylor. He caught him at the end of that first period, 7-0. And I was lucky I got to sit next to you most of the weekend. I'm like, this match is going to be like 9-8, one way or the other. And then just nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Antrell Taylor just had a non-Antrell Taylor weekend. I mean, he has to own the results of that weekend, but it didn't feel like he was really wrestling like himself. Okay, 65. To me, I can't tell if there's I think it's tier 1 with Mesenbrink and tier 2 with Lockett and Caliendo, and I can't tell if Joey Blaze is in that tier. And then it kind of feels like Bianchi may be on his own, and then the rest is a hodgepodge. Do you see it the same or differently?
Yeah, I kind of would see it the same way. I was hoping when we were in Vegas that Blaze would have those kind of opponents that make you confirm that he's in that 2, 3, 4, all being in the same tier with Lockett Caliendo. Still not sure that that's the case. And I've been going through schedules. I think Bianchi has a pretty good chance to finish undefeated, which would be kind of strange. Not strange, but seeding wise, if Caliendo has 3 losses and Blaze has a loss, and
yeah, it's the Tommy Gant. It's the year when Tommy Gant got when they had Imar and Nolf in that, and it's the same sort of scenario.
Yep.
He would get a really good seed because let's say Mesenbrink is 1. If Lockett can go undefeated, he would be 2. But there's an argument that Bianchi would be 3, right? Because he would have better winning percentage and he would have better conference placing, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if Caliendo wins the rematch between him and Lockett, and then Caliendo has a loss to Mesenbrink at Big Tens. It really could kind of throw some funk into it.
The Caliendo Lockett match in the duel is massive for seeding.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Gigantic for seeding because once you wrestle the second one, the first one doesn't matter. So, yeah, 74. So I kind of thought this was Levi and everybody else, and I still feel that way. And it feels like a complete mess. I feel like the top, any 2 through 6 could all make the finals if they were on the bottom
I kind of have Simon Ruiz by himself at this point.
Yeah.
He's another one that just has elite top game. I would have liked to see him against some of those other guys in that range, but that's kind of how I feel. But yeah, after that, I don't know if those guys are really threatening Levi too much.
I don't know that I think Ruiz is sort of your Jax and Joy, right? Like he's really long. He could put Levi in some weird scrambles. Karchel always wrestles Haines tough, but it feels like Levi would be fine against Kennedy, Karchel, Singleton. I think Chris Minto's a guy that could make the finals. We had him in our fantasy pool last year as like the 13 or 14 seed and thought he would make the sems, and he did, but he's not sneaking up on anybody this year, that's for sure. And I think Steed and Mantanona are interesting because Steed's been hurt. Mantanona's lacks consistency, but he can pin anybody. And they put you to the back moves are 7 now instead of 5, and that's a big difference. We already talked about 84, so now Welsh moves up to the top. James Conway's 25-1, and his only loss is to Jackson Smith, and Jackson Smith is from your neck of the woods, clearly. Yep. And is getting a medical. Well, he's out for the year. Hopefully, he'll get a medical red shirt. So, if Conway, is there any chance that Conway is a top 3 seed? Because I think there is.
I think so, especially if some of these guys are beating up on each other. And I don't know. Let's see. Ferrari, if they have multiple losses, and Conway runs a table, wins EIWAs, it's definitely in play.
Does the match go off his winning percentage that like Jackson Smith is out, or does it still counts as his winning percentage?
I still think it counts. I don't know that for certain.
Yeah. Okay. It feels like there is a tier 1 though, wherever they see Conway. Like, if he's seated 3 or whatever, would it be weird if he seated 3? Because then like in this case, Sinclair and McAnally become 4-5. And if you're the 6, it's a pretty big advantage because you get Conway and you don't have to wrestle any of those other guys in the semis. So that's where you could see something not put these 4 guys in the semis, correct?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And I do think those 4, I wouldn't pick anybody to win out of, below those 4.
Yes.
I think they're kind of on the tier by themselves, although, Fishback went into overtime with McAnally at National Duels. But
yeah. As good as National Duels were, one of the things that people I think forget is it was November. Yeah. A lot of things happen. A lot of things change. A lot of coaching adjustments. I think Sinclair has the best path to avoid that, getting in the bottom of that, because he can win his conference.
Yep.
And, the next best guy there is Saldano and Nietenbach and Isaac Dean. And the way I'm sorry?
Zach Ryder.
Yeah. Yes. But I feel like he matches up well with Zach Ryder. He's not going to get put in that underhook. And I think, but you're right. He is probably, or for sure, ranking-wise, the next best. Okay, this way feels to me like it's going to be Josh Barr and Rocky Elam in the finals. Do you see it differently?
Generally, yeah, I would say that. I hope that Elam's missed some time lately. Hopefully it was precautionary. I know at the beginning of the year, Dresser said that he was going to be on a pitch count and then kind of wrestled everything in the first half. And now they've been more, delicate with him. So, but watching him at Cliff Keen, it was hard to believe that anybody was going to beat him. But then, Barr comes back and really has shown no ill effects from the injury, and, that he is rightfully the number 1 guy. So I think it is those 2. I'm still maybe Rademacher.
why is Rademacher 5 instead of 3? And I don't mean that like I'm questioning you. Rademacher's only lost as Elam. So is there an argument for Rademacher at 3?
For sure. Kind of by the process, I guess the beginning of it, he was kind of, much lower than those All-American guys.
Yeah.
So
just some inertia there, right?
Yeah, I guess no real reason to drop the other guys or boost them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, younger Bastida might be my favorite guy. He did cost me my fantasy contest when he lost to Lucas Davison and then DMP'd, but he's so exciting for a heavyweight, Earl, and he just goes and gets it. But, I mean, we'll get to see Ferrari Keeter Friday, and we'll still see Ferrari Feldman rematch. I feel like Isaac Trumbull has a path here to at least the number 2 seed. Am I crazy?
No, for sure. He does. And he might be the guy. Like
yes.
He's a fun guy to watch himself, and he can get after it and score some points. I think maybe some people forgot about him because he didn't compete that much at the beginning of the season, and obviously wasn't there for national duels where he could have hit some of these big guys. But yeah, and I'm curious about last night there was an article that resurfaced about AJ Ferrari, and it seemed like it was covering some of the old legal stuff. I don't know if it's new stuff, so I
had it pop up on my phone, the initial, and we don't want to report any of this anything less than carefully, but the initial thing was that any charges had been dismissed without prejudice, which means he can't be recharged, which is really the best it can be. So hopefully he doesn't have any more legal problems. I think that's the safest statement you can make. How dangerous is Braxton Amos? Because he was really close with Bastida. And he feels like he's dangerous on that 8-9 line. That's not a match Bastida would win in the quarterfinals.
No, I don't think so. And we get to see him with a good match this weekend with Koi Hopke. And he's kind of a different opponent from a lot of different style wise from a lot of these guys in the top 10. So, and I think heavyweight kind of suits him better in his style than 97 did.
Yes.
So he's one I have him at 9, and I think that's probably the right spot for him. But if he works his way higher or he finishes higher, that really wouldn't surprise me per se.
And I think Bastida's got a pretty easy Big 12. No disrespect, but Connor Doucette doesn't do a lot. Christian Carroll would be on the same side of the bracket as Doucette. His semi-opponent in your rankings is number 18, David Zuba. That's about as good as it gets if you're in the Big 12.
Yeah, it's not the Big 10 at this weight.
For sure. All right, tournaments. So we have Tier 1, Tier 2. So I said this to somebody the other day. I think they've been starting Jax all along because I talked to Howard at the beginning of October because we were trying to put together Jax Forrest against Masa Ono at Ohio Border Brawl.
Nice.
It would have been nice. It would have been fantastic. Yeah. But it's very interesting. I don't think Oklahoma State's been on the fence on this at all, right? I think they thought Figs was the answer. Figs wasn't the answer. I think Ronnie Ramirez is really good. I just don't think he's transcendent like Jax. Jax feels like he's a transcendent kind of kid. And they'll figure it out. He's got more dates. I guess if he stumbled and fell and, I don't know, lost to the number 17 guy in the country, maybe he's not that guy. I think some people had some trepidation after he had that barn burner match with Carson Brown. By the way, Carson Brown is an Ohio Border Brawl for sure. So we got some of it. But it's interesting to me how the Endine thing probably solidified to Oklahoma State we need to wrestle Jax because Oklahoma State's at 78.5 in your rankings and Jax is ranked 14th. And correct me if I'm wrong, but 9 through 12 is 2 points and 13 through 16 is 1.5 points.
Correct.
So, yep. We think he's going to place, right? If I said to you, you get the over-under for Jax is 7.5 or 8.5. You're taking 1 through 8, I would think. I would. And that's a minimum of 5.5, so that he goes up 4 points, and that ties him right there with Iowa State. And it makes Oklahoma State look like a top 3 team. Now, the weird thing is they got a bunch of guys. They could place 74, 84, 97 heavy, or they could not place at any of those weights.
Yeah, for sure. And in my opinion with Jax is I just don't think they would be going through all this if he was just going to redshirt this year. So
well, they've been slowly lying to us all along. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, you get paid $1 million a year. You're only answering to like 4 people, and you and I aren't on the list. But like, oh, he's not coming out. Well, yeah, he might come out in gray shirt. Like, come on, like you don't take him unless you're taking him. Like, and it's interesting how certain results, like let's say Ronnie Ramirez had beaten Drake Ayala, and he got the first takedown on him, and then let's say Drake Ayala was killing everybody. Like Drake Ayala was like 9-2, and the only, he had like a loss to Davino or 9-1, something like that. All these things sort of are interwoven. It's almost like a weird soap opera, where these things, the story over here impacts the story over here, over there that you don't think about. Your thoughts on the Endine situation and your thoughts on the coaching situation at Iowa?
Yeah, as far as Endine goes, I do respect Tom Brands and the factor he just won't really talk about it, in the sense that I'm sure there are things that he could point to as reasons why he's not on the roster, and Tom's just not going to go out and say, well, he didn't do X, Y, and Z, or he did X, Y, and Z, so that's why he's not here. He's not going to air out an athlete like that. So, we've kind of heard the Endine side of the story. I don't know whether that's, completely accurate or the story, but it doesn't sound good. But yeah, as far as the coaching situation goes, I mean, he's Tom Brands has been there for 20 years. He's been, one of the best coaches in the country. I kind of agree with that. There's like a local news or something that came out in the last day or two saying, I don't know, 75 coaches in the country would probably trade places with them. And, looking at what Iowa's doing, doesn't look terrible on paper when you're behind, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, but it also isn't what Iowa is accustomed to. And, Penn State is kind of rolling with no signs of slowing down. You have Oklahoma State that looks like they're ready to, really go on a roll and take it to the next level. So there probably needs to be some sort of new excitement around the Iowa program. Maybe that's from an assistant coaching side. Maybe it's something related to like Hawkeye Wrestling Club, but there does need to be something. And I say this to a lot of people where, think about the 16, 17-year-olds that are being recruited right now. If they were hardcore wrestling fans from the time they were 6 and 7, which there aren't that many of them, that takes us back to say 2016. So all they've known is Penn State domination, a couple Spencer Lee Iowa years. So, the legend of Iowa is kind of stuff from their dad and grandpa. Their whole life has been Penn State domination. So I would like to see something that excites the kids for Iowa. And, there are some top prospects from 27 that have already committed. And so maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but yeah.
No, yeah, I think everything you're saying is right. And I think the weird thing is this, like, I think I'm older than you, but I went to Iowa State. Okay. Like that's who I've got recruited, but that's where I picked. And the thing about wrestling a guy from Iowa is you're like, it's going to be a fist fight. Like, it's just going to be a fight. And maybe you have the skills to wrestle that guy, but it's not just the cardio. Like, you have to have the mental training to, like, this guy's going to club you, and they don't care if they take a team point. I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying it was, it was a different mentality. And like when they had like the Nick Moore era, like when David Taylor, when those guys were beating all of them, they weren't as good, but they were still physical. Now it doesn't even feel like they're physical. Like, it doesn't feel like they go, like, I think their most physical guys are Caliendo and Kennedy.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I think Mikey Caliendo is going to be one of those guys that was good enough to win the Nationals in a lot of eras and got stuck at, like, if Mikey Caliendo was a 149 pounder with the same skill set, I think you'd have him ranked 1 or 2 at the worst. But it's a different 1 or 2. Like, it's a coin flip with Van Ness, not a 0-7 against Mesenbrink. So the other thing that is this, like, hey, if you're going to get rid of somebody, who are you going to replace them with, right? Like, who's going to be better? And then there's the whole, well, if Tom goes, my money goes with Bob Nichols, which people that say that doesn't matter do not understand the world of college wrestling anymore. Like at Merrimack, we would have loved to have somebody that would have given us $20,000 a year to recruit. Like, forget $2 million, probably what the payroll is up there. So it's crazy. Okay, you want to make some picks?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so this is a website that we use a lot. This is Matt King's. They take the collective rankings, Earl, of inner mat, of open mat, and flow, and then take the averages, and then they have this dual meet ranking thing here. So it's fairly easy to see side by side who you're picking. Do you know if Lamer's wrestling this weekend?
I believe he is, yeah.
Okay. And we know Ferrari is not.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you are the guest. Would you like to go first on the even matches or the odd matches?
I'll go with the even.
Okay. So the way we do it is, like, we'll say the guy and by like what team points. Okay. So we got Earl and we got David. So I like that you gave me 25. It's pretty easy. I'm going to take Dean Peterson, and I'm going to take him by a decision. I'm going to take him by a big decision by 6 or 7 points, but I think Nebraska holds him off and prevents the major.
I would agree with Dean Peterson by decision as well.
Okay. 33. This is interesting. Van D and Ayala. Who you got?
Give me Van D by decision. I don't know if I'm 100% confident in that, but we'll go with that.
I'm going to take Ayala, and I said this the other day. If he loses, I think I'm off the train.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this has got to be a get-right match for him. So, Hardy Nasir, I think a week ago I would have said Hardy by major. Here's the other thing, Earl. In the Nasir match, how in the second period does he not get warned for stalling at all?
I do not know that.
I mean, that was crazy, right? Like, if it was the other way around in Iowa and Braden Davis had laid there for 2 minutes, he probably would have had 3 stalling calls, right?
Probably, yeah.
I'm going to take Hardy, and I'm going to say major. I'm going to say that he gets him tired, not as bad as Mendez did at National Duels, but that path.
I'll go with Hardy, but just by a regular decision.
Okay. 49's an important match in this duel. Very toss-up-y. Chance Lamer, Ryder Block.
Yeah, I don't know why I picked the evens.
To be fair, I gave you your choice.
You did. I will go with Ryder Block by decision.
I think so, too. I just think he hadn't wrestled a lot, but I think he wrestles more. Mm-hmm. I also thought Ryder Block looked sneaky good against Van Ness, right? He got the first takedown. He was in that seatbelt position the second time and didn't go for it. You have to go for it when you're the underdog. Like, you have nothing to lose there. And he hung out, and that's when he got cross ankle picked. That was like a 10-point swing, 3 for him versus 7 for Van Ness, and that's the match, right?
Yep. He definitely surprised me coming out like he did, getting the first takedown. So
Yeah. By the way, a lot got lost in the weekend with Penn State, Iowa, but if you have time, go back and watch the third period of Charlie Millard and Antrell Taylor. Okay, somebody giggling who saw that. That was a crazy finish, and I think I think it may have really saved Antrell's season. Just you believe in yourself, right? So Antrell was losing, came back, got an escape, kind of got a borderline reversal. Maybe it was a reversal, and then cut him loose. Same thing as an escape, but got in on a scramble, looked like he was going to lose, and then just sat himself through, pancaked Millard, and Millard just laid there and got pinned. And if Ferrari had lost to Hopke, which was closer than people think, the duel would have been 15-15 if he had just done like the world's smallest bridge. Anyway, having said that, I'm going to take Antrell. I thought Jordan Williams acquitted himself very well against Duke. I think Antrell's a bad kind of matchup for Jordan Williams. Like, he's just as athletic. And Jordan likes to shoot and come up to the body to that seatbelt position. And I think Antrell's like, come on up, the water's warm. So I'll take Antrell.
Yeah, that's a good breakdown. I like Antrell by decision as well.
Okay, you keep getting the easy ones. Arujao Caliendo.
I will go with Caliendo, and Arujao has impressed me. I do think that Caliendo, he's a veteran. In addition to being talented, he knows what's at stake here. So I think he's going to push for a major. I'm going to say major for Caliendo.
I have him at a major too. He also seems to bounce back really well after losses, which is a sign of a champion. Okay, I think this match, it's Minto Kennedy if people are just listening. I'm going to take Minto. I think guys with length give Kennedy trouble. I should ask you, did you hear anything on why Kennedy didn't wrestle against Penn State, or is it still a mystery?
No, and I was doing a write-up right before we were getting on here, and that's kind of what I was kind of curious about, if he couldn't wrestle versus Penn State and he's going now, what kind of condition is he in, if this is, a health thing.
Yeah. I do know that Tom Brand said Patrick Kennedy's our 174-pounder, which leads me to believe Gabe Arnold's not getting a wrestle off there. So anyway, do you have Kennedy or Minto at 74?
I'll go with Minto because of what I was saying about the possible health. I've been going back and forth on this one, but
okay, I think the last three picks are a little bit easier. So 84, it's all red, and it'll be against Gabe Arnold.
And I think they split matches last year.
Yeah.
But I will go with all red.
I will go with all red, and I will predict that the match will either be 4-2 or 4-1 in overtime.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, all right, Cam McDaniel against. This is where I feel like you wrestle Harvey Ludington, right? Like Brody Sampson's a guy that's giving up bonus. Like right now, I mean, when we look at this, you've got Iowa winning 1, 2, 3. You have it 5-3 Nebraska so far. I have it 4-4. And it could easily be 5-3 Iowa. We both picked a couple coin flips for Nebraska. Like Kennedy wins, and that's a flip. So I'm first here. I mean, I'm going to pick Cam by decision because I'm assuming they're going to wrestle Ludington. If not, I think it's a major.
Yeah, I would say bonus points if it's not Ludington. Not sure what to think of him as of yet, but I'll stick with decision.
Okay. And then Ferrari Keeter.
Oh, I guess I have to go with Ferrari at this point in time with Keeter. At the beginning of the year, we were concerned about his health, and I don't know if he's better or not, but he's coming off a loss to Mirasola, which I wouldn't have expected. So I'll go with Ferrari. My analysis with him is always, I don't know how the heck you're going to take him down.
Yeah, that's Yeah, I have him too. You have it 21-10 Nebraska.
Ooh, okay.
You have Iowa winning 25-49-65.
Okay.
I have Iowa winning the same 3 plus 33. So I have it I have it 18-13 in Nebraska with bonus at 41. So I have it 19-13. I'm one coin flip away from having it 16-16.
Yeah.
And you're really 2. So I mean, it's not as bad as we're making it sound like, but I do think it's fascinating that if in a year that Iowa loses the Cy-Hawk duel, takes their worst loss since 1966, I think I read, and would lose to Nebraska and maybe not get a team trophy, it does feel like there's some corrections need to be made. So I will say, this is a statement I have, and I want your opinion on it. Everybody's talking about teams coming for Penn State, especially Oklahoma State. I think this is crazy. Penn State has one senior.
Mm-hmm.
They have one senior. And if they just wanted to bump Mitchell Mesenbrink to 74 next year and bump PJ Duke to 65 and plug Tyler Kasak in at 57 and plug Masa Ono in at 33 and move Blaze to 41, that team might be better.
Yeah, and I mean they have so many options. They have Jaden James, who's I think close to Bo Bassett level of prospect coming in.
Agreed.
You have Will Henkel, who is great prospect otherwise, if he wasn't on Penn State, surefire starter, All-American type. So yeah, they've got plenty of options. Asher Cunningham has looked good. So yeah.
Smaller Mirasola, Nate Desmond.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way they don't have depth is 25.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's stupid. I mean, and the other thing is this, like recruiting. I mean, I was good at recruiting. We had really good ranked recruiting classes, but like you can't recruit the top 7 guys in the country at heavyweight. Like it looks good on your rankings, but like Oklahoma State's going to have a logjam between 33 and 57.
Yes.
Because Rabideau can't get any bigger than 57. So you have the guys that are there now, plus the Rainies, plus the other kids they have coming in. And it's like Tegan Jameson comes back. So, I mean, all these kids can't start. And when you're getting paid that much money, and that's just the money we know about, like I ran a tournament down there for 3 years. I have some stories. So they're not paying that much to take third. And I mean, I think they could take third this year. I think they could beat Iowa State. Because I looked at it, it's 4 points apart. And let's say your rankings are dead on the nuts accurate, except for Jax, which I think you would say Jax is wrong.
Oh, like, yeah, he's way low.
Yeah. I think your ranking is accurate, but where he finishes is different. So they're right there in a coin flip. That's going to be a great duel, by the way, the Iowa State-Oklahoma State duel. That's a low-key duel that nobody's really talking about. So anyway, look, you're one of the guys that I really looked up to and still do in this industry, especially when I was doing the rankings. Your demeanor's always professional. Probably have the best one-liners that you and Joe Russell are the 2 sneakiest best one-liners and wrestling guys that I know. So I appreciate you coming on this morning, and I am not going to get to do that play-by-play with you. I am going to get to do it with Mark Strickland out there, but
okay,
that'll be good, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's a win. That's a win.
Yeah. Hopefully next year we'll get you out there at UVA at JPJ, and we'll get to do a commentary together. Because sitting with you and Willie and GT and Thomas from the Low Single podcast was about as fun a way to spend 2 days of watching wrestling as there is. You see all these memes where like what your wife thinks you're doing, or girlfriend thinks you're doing, and it's all this debocherous stuff, and then what you're actually doing, and it's just the 4 or 5 of us sitting there watching wrestling, making side bets. It was about as fun as it could be. So thank you for that, and thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys for watching and listening. We will see you all next week.